Hello everyone. Yes, I am a dummy and I forgot to press record. Sorry. But as always, I am quite late to these challenges, and with the YouTube Artist Collective, I've always sketched the theme, but I've never done a final, so this one I knew I had to do it. I am a coward when it comes to anything supernatural. Yep, I'm that friend in the group that usually gets scared by everything that it becomes an inside joke to taunt me to do something brave. So when I found out that the theme was urban legends from the creator's country, I was not very willing to find out something from New Zealand, especially since we're quite a small and I would say pretty new country that the legend could actually happen next door recently, and that would have given me nightmares for a long time. In fact, the first thing that came up in the searches was paranormal activities, and because of that, the ads on YouTube is all horror related. But I remember writing a paper for school about past mental health care around the late 1800s and early 1900s. That's not what the legend part is, but it is a sad part of our history. These institutes eventually were abolished, but instead of destroying the buildings, they were sold and repurposed. One of them is now a horror theme park that's only open at night, which romanticizes oh my god, I can't pronounce that word. The media's portrayal of mental health being scary, which I don't 100% agree with, but I still understand how that would make a great recreational activity. The other well-known old institute that I know of is now a tertiary level education center. My oldest brother was actually a student of that university, and I remember he used to be kinda on the edge when he went to school. This was because there was rumors that the repurposed building that utilizes the old dungeons, yes, I said dungeons, that these patients were chained up in had a lot of strange noises, especially around the evening and night. I actually haven't been to the school, but I can sort of rationalize it as the activities in the drains or something like that. That could be a common thing during that era. I don't know. So originally, I was going to draw something like an angry spirit haunting a student who had to stay late at night to finish their project. But as I said, making mental health crazy and seem scary is not something that I personally like at all. This is a stigma that I want to see change in society, so I decided to do a piece on a story based on a common scenario from these institutes back in the 1800s or whatever time. So, serious story time. Well, not really serious, but sort of serious. Anyway, this drawing tells the story of a young girl who is in her teens. She fell in love with a man and gave him everything, but that resulted in a new life developing in her. Yeah, she was pregnant. Most people would have been rejoiced at this news. However, during this era, if a child was born outside of wedlock, it is very unacceptable. Some men would marry their lovers to prevent the punishment that occurs, but in this case, the male refused this woman. Actually, this young girl. She probably would have been under 17. This is a taboo. The girl would have her child taken away from her to be adopted by families that are in wedlock, and that would be against her will. And she was also sent to this place to be treated as basically a prisoner, because it was thought that she was possessed to have done something this unspeakable. So I drew her as a fairy who had her wings clipped because fairies represent femininity, innocence, and youth. But she's also blinded by magic, and this was a physical thing that happened to these young girls in the dungeon. She had her voice taken away, which is shown by the tape over her mouth. and I dressed her up in 1900 clothing and hairstyle to show that she was from that era. I do know that these institutes were abolished and these women were in their late senior years when they were released, but by then they had basically no family and did not understand how the world worked since they were so institutionalized. So everything on the second third of the drawing is the modern time, filled with colorful, thriving lilies to show that she had her youth stolen away from her. That is something that is accepted as part of society, but it also continues with that very nature theme. Honestly, there's a lot of symbolism in this drawing, both intentional and unintentional. But the main message is that I'm very proud that good change is happening with what we have learned from the past. And I do hope that it does not revert back to that old way. I don't know. I'm not very good at deep meanings, but I like to believe what I'm trying to say is being conveyed properly. Okay, enough of that intensive stuff and move on to the actual drawing process. This is probably the biggest and most detailed painting that I've done this year, so it really was a challenge. I did not particularly like the paper that I used because the paint spread to fibers where it wasn't wet and created this weird blooming. It wasn't even blooming, it was a strange texture that I didn't like at all. And the ink wash, I think that's what it's called. The ink did not move a lot in the water, and I tried 3 different brands of black ink, so I'm not sure if it was my technique or the paper, but I still like the results. It did take a while to get there. I fixed some of the parts of the painting in the morning, such as darkening the black ink, the footpath, along with more magical vibes using a white gel pen to create a better focus on the girl. When the viewer looks at this drawing, the eye still goes towards the bright building at the back first, but at least the secondary focus is on the girl instead of the random footpath and shrub in the middle, which is sort of what I'm going for because when you look at the university, you don't think of these things that have happened in the past unless you know about it. Another mistake that I fixed is that said shrub. The cross-hatching for the shadows was a little bit too harsh, so I went over it with some gouache and coloring pencils to fix it. Overall, I learned to draw more subjects like a building, naturally things such as the trees and all those lilies that I wouldn't have attempted if it wasn't for the challenge, so I'm quite proud of it and possibly to a point where I want to make prints out of this with all the proceeds going to a local charity that focuses on youth mental health. But at this point of time, I think that's just wishful thinking. Also, an important note is that remember, if you or someone you know is ever down or feel like giving up or have dramatically changed in an unhealthy way, please seek professional help and don't force yourself to bear through it. There is a reason why the help is out there. But also, please don't self-diagnose or self-medicate at all. Mental health is a serious and definitely not a trend. It's not fun or cool, trust me. Alright, thank you for watching, happy painting, and until next time, bye!